Good evening, everybody. Today's Thursday, May 7th. Welcome to the public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Funds that are COVID-19 related. The City of Springfield received over $799,000 from the federal government, which we really appreciate the support and how we can provide that support locally. That's what this public comment period is about. It's similar to our rail process where we have open hearings where people can come and make comments, and that's what tonight's all about, to give the public the opportunity to make comments associated with those particular dollars. From that, just to give a brief background, and then I'll turn it over to Office of Planning and Economic Development Director Val Yazel. With regards to community development block grant funds, for those that may not be aware of those, we receive those on an annual basis. We do have a consolidated plan that we provide to the Housing and Urban Development of the federal government and how we would spend those particular funds. With regards to the ones coming up this year, which would be our 2020 plan, we were looking at business support because of the coronavirus and the impact it's had significantly on the business side of things. And typically, in previous years, we had a large portion of the funds go towards housing initiatives. And so with the receipt of the grant for the COVID-19, we have to amend our consolidated plan that is currently in place. And so that's one of the aspects of this public hearing, is to get comments. That's part of the regulatory obligation that we have. But one of the things that the coronavirus has done, as we all know, it's changed the processes in many different fashions with regards to city council, with regards to business operations, and this is another aspect. So not only today, we are live streaming it, it's my understanding, through Facebook and also through our cable access channel. For individuals that might want to extend their comments in writing, they can do so by emailing feedback@springfield.il.us. And then there's other opportunities to provide feedback, of course, through the City Council. The committee as a whole will take a look at an ordinance or consider an ordinance next Tuesday's City Council meeting at 5:30, and then hopefully for final passage the following Tuesday. But we will also have another public hearing Zoom meeting next Thursday at this same time at 5 o'clock for people that want to extend their comments verbally. So today it will be pretty much, we will be documenting what's been said, and then we'll probably create a frequently asked questions with regards to any clarification that we need to provide, and all that information will be on the city's website. But the document is out there for those of you. You can go to springfield.il.us and access the document that we will be discussing that went before our Economic and Community Development Commission in one fashion. We did make some changes to that based on additional information we've received, and that's what's before us that we'd like the public to comment on tonight. So with that, I will turn it over to Val Yazel, the Office of Planning and Economic Development Director, to kind of give the parameters and anything else she'd like to state.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone who's out there and listening to us this evening. As the Mayor stated, the City of Springfield received CDBG funding in the amount of $799,156 through the CARES Act. With these additional dollars, the City of Springfield must amend its fiscal 2019 action plan and the 2015 to 2019 consolidated plan to receive and distribute these funds. As the Mayor also mentioned, a copy of the amendment, for those of you that might want to get a copy of this right now, it can be found on our website at www.springfield.il.us. The Office of Planning and Economic Development, as well as the Mayor's Office, began receiving feedback from the community and our businesses concerning the looming needs and a lot of the adverse effects of COVID-19, and probably by mid-March we started receiving comments. This draft amendment, and I will stress it's a draft amendment, reflects that feedback that we've received thus far, and we're here tonight to hear your feedback and comments. If you have questions, we will gather those, as the mayor alluded to, and submit the questions and answers on our webpage. For those watching on Facebook Live, we'll gather your comments as well. Tonight is solely for listening to your feedback concerning our initial draft on the expenditure of these funds that we will receive. The city is proposing to utilize the funding to address community needs related to COVID, including business assistance, housing assistance, food bank support, health and safety supplies, and affected public facilities. The city will also alter the program policies of our existing CDBG funded economic development program to meet the needs of businesses affected by COVID-19. Amendment number 1 will support our local businesses impacted by COVID emergency through economic and technical assistance. Financing will be provided through forgivable loans and grants to small businesses. We will also leverage our current funds to offer a total of about $500,000 for businesses in our community. Amendment number 2 will be provided to income-eligible residents economically impacted by COVID outbreak to make rental payments. Funds will be provided to landlords and property managers on behalf of renters for about $400,000 in total investment. Amendment number 3 will support the food pantry, the Central Illinois Food Pantry, to provide food to those most impacted by food shortage for about $100,000. Amendment number 4 will support distribution of COVID-19 respiratory kits. A portion of the kits will be made available to the general public. The remaining portion will be distributed for at-risk populations, including the homeless and the elderly, and that will be about $50,000. Finally, amendment number 5 will subsidize public facilities and our public services that primarily serve low and moderate income persons to adapt to the changing needs of clients due to the COVID emergency for a little under $50,000. Guidelines have not yet been established for these proposed programs. Once we have gathered public input, we will submit the plan with the proposed amounts to HUD for approval. Once approved, we will follow the guidelines that HUD requires us to follow. As a reminder, tonight is about your comments and the feedback. We'll gather your questions and submit those answers to be posted on the website. Mayor, I'm turning it back over to you.
Okay, so how we'll progress is we will just, whoever would like to make a comment, I don't know, Tom, will you be controlling that? Tom Cheese here, the Innovation Officer for the City of Springfield, or is that something I should do? Or if we have a sign up? Oh, great. Very good. First, we have Lisa Clemens-Stott.
Grant. Yeah, now is that something we should really be like thinking of that?
Who's talking?
It's only public comment. I'm looking at it right now. It seems super boring.
Is Lisa Clemens-Stott available?
I am, Mayor, and that was not me.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think so. Yes, if you go ahead.
I actually don't have any comment today. DSI provided a formal letter last week in response to CDBG with the questions that we had, so I don't have anything to add today.
And I believe those written recommendations will be on the website now. When we compare all the written documents, we'll compile those together. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yep, we did. We do have receipt of your comments through Downtown Springfield Inc., so thank you very much. Next
If
is...
we could ask everyone to put themselves on mute unless you're speaking.
Yeah, if you could mute your where you're at, and then when we call upon you, if you could speak at that point, that'd be great. Next is John Leskavesik.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, John. Bless you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this is John Leskavesik. John and Mike are probably familiar with me. Yeah, we own Godfather's Pizza and two chili parlors here in Springfield. And I wanted to reflect on, the hardships we had with the COVID, and we're trying to keep everybody employed. Most of our employees are, lower income, moderate income families. And one thing that I just wanted to point out is what the city of Pekin did with their, we have two locations in Pekin, Illinois, and they set up grants for the businesses up there for, they were based on what the need was. There was $5,000 grants and $2,000 grants. And it really is going to help us bridge through to June 26th, even if we get open June 26th. We were very thankful that the city of Pekin did this, and I reached out to Valerie today because I heard that, I was thinking we had applied for some HUD stuff and our economic stuff, didn't apply for it because we were in Springfield. And that's when I reached out to a couple of the aldermen, and then they hooked me up with Val. But whatever you can do for the area businesses, it's restaurants and that's been hit so hard. Some of them aren't going to, I'm sure it's not going to reopen. It's impossible, because of the costs are just mounting. And we've got, some of us have got help, but that's going to run out about mid-June. That will be over with. And then we're going to be forced to lay people off again because this is just lasting longer than what we thought. So I would just appreciate any help to the area businesses. If it's us or whoever, we do need it right at this time. So I appreciate your time to listen to us.
Well, thank you very much. And we are making notes as we progress. Next is Donna Hilliard. Donna, are you available? Donna Hilliard.
Yes, I am just from Petersburg Power Washing Incorporated. We're located over on 11th Street. We are a service company, and we've had some question as to whether we're essential, not essential. I know we pretty much stayed closed down for the best part of March and beginning April. I did call the public health department and get some specifications on how to work safely, and we did kind of start booking some appointments and working one-man crews with masks, and we're doing no contact estimates and services. I know one of the things for me is I'm a seasonal company. I was lucky enough to get the payroll protection plan. We normally employ 14 employees during our season. Runs typically from April the 10th to approximately December 18th, December 20th. One of the things that was kind of a grave oversight with the CARES Act, with the PPP, was some of us that are seasonal, we didn't have any employees on January 1st. And so what little bit of the PPP that we were able to secure was based on the number of people on our payroll on January 1st. Now we did get funded finally the second go round, and what we're finding is we have 8 weeks to use that, and we're still basically functioning at a skeleton staff because our sales are down at about 70% because obviously everyone's out of work. So there's not a lot of people paying, for work that we normally would have at this time of year. So I guess I would just appreciate updates on the website as to how to apply, what are the stipulations and the regulations for applying, and just keeping it updated with information. So those of us that could possibly take advantage of this, where some of the other EIDL and PPP stuff didn't help much, that would be extremely helpful for helping us recover, I guess, and get back on our feet. Like I said, we are lucky enough to not be completely closed down. I'm grateful for that. We've been in business about 14 years, and I don't think we've ever really taken a hit like this. So it's going to take those businesses that come through these times, and it's going to take us a long time to actually, recover from this. It's probably going to take months. So I do appreciate any kind of help that maybe could come to small business people who employ those in the community. Most of our people that are employed are people that are in the Springfield, Sangamon County area. They're people that maybe would not be able to be employed otherwise. They don't have college educations. It is a labor type employment, but we do pay well. And although we don't have a lot of benefits to offer, we offer great pay and other great incentives. And so I would hate, personally for me, I would hate to see us not recover well from this and then have the employees that depend on us to feed their families lose their jobs and be out of work. It would just be a burden on my shoulders, because I would feel personally responsible for that. So any kind of help that we get from a COVID Relief Act from the city would be I would be grateful.
Well, we appreciate those comments. One clarifying question. You said you're a seasonal company. Can you specify the months?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
Can you specify the months of operation for your season?
Yes, generally I work about April 15th to approximately December the 20th.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Alderwoman Doris Turner.
Well, I didn't raise my hand.
Oh, okay. I'm going down the list. Maybe it's just the attendees.
You can't believe.
Well, you get recognized.
You can't believe I don't have a comment, right?
That's good. We appreciate you being participating. Next is Marcia Deane.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
We can.
Okay, great. I work with a not-for-profit, affordable, safe housing, and I have been beating this drum for a long time. Valerie knows that I am very passionate about this. Lake Victoria Village is the community where my office is located. My office is located in a church there. That community has not received a lot of services since the coronavirus has happened. There's been other communities where they've had food drives and other giveaways, and I'm very happy for them, but I think that we need those kind of services in that area. I think it's it's overlooked. And also, they just had a new owner buy up the property in that area, and the rents are going up. The tenants were already in trouble before coronavirus. They were already in trouble in December. So I would really like the city to take a serious look at this. Juan has been working with me concerning this and trying to work with the owners of the complex. And I just want the city to take a serious look at this.
Thank you very much. Next is Monica Zanetti. Is Monica available? we'll come back to her. Kathy Napier, and I apologize if I mispronounced someone's name. Is Kathy Napier available? How about Laura Camp? Laura Camp?
Hi, I wasn't expecting to be called on. I don't know how I got on the list. We really appreciate you guys taking a look at this. It is huge for us as a small business owners downtown. The Studio on 6 didn't qualify for any of the PPP because it's an owner operated with volunteer artisans. We just need a little something to get us through. Just that, even if it's a matter of the ability to make sure that our landlord is taken care of, and then taking a look at what we're looking at for electric bill. As we're looking forward into the holiday season, the supply line for an artisan co-op is supported because we have the ability for those artists to continue to work. What we don't know as far as supply line is a customer base. The longer that we don't see conventions downtown, the longer that we don't see groups available downtown, those Christmas walks, those kind of things put all of our businesses at risk. So we need that bridge, that kind of safety net to get us through that, you know, so that we can look into our crystal ball and say, okay, through December 31st, we're cool. Most of us in retail are used to not being cool in January and February. So if we can get to cool between now and December, that provides us the ability to plan for longevity, whereas currently the planning for longevity is darn scary. And if we start to see, here's a storefront, there's a storefront missing, here's a storefront, there's 3 storefronts missing. All boats rise when we've got the ability for all boats to rise. And if I've got a next door neighbor and she's got a next door neighbor and that person has a next door neighbor all working in retail, then we provide a place for what I call the townies. We've got our convention goers and our tourists, but we also have our townies. And right now, for the next 7 months, I really only see townies as our potential customer base. And if we're all there and we have that ability to all support each other and we have the longevity that is provided by having a little money to get us through that December 31st, then we can all plan together to be there and be there the following year and the following year. So that's what I'm hoping that you can hear from us, that we need that support to be able to, with some sort of wisdom and security, say, let's plan forward for the next 12 months to be viable. So that's what I'm needing you to hear from us. And again, we so appreciate all the hard work that everybody is doing on this and the ears and the hearts that are listening to us. So that's all I really needed to say. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Laura. We appreciate it. Next is Linda Reinahan. Hi, Linda. It'll just be a minute.
Now, there we go. Hello.
Hello.
Springfield Vintage. Here's my problem. I just don't fit in my business model to get money. I guess I've done it all wrong. I've only done it for 30 years this way, but into this way, I'm really, I have no employees. I only take a draw. Most of my clients are more from out of town, and it's just tough right now. I'm working my tush off, trying to do what I can do to go ahead, and I'm with Laura that even when we open up without that downtown influence, we're in trouble. We've got all the homeless now living behind our shops. I think that we really need to take that chance right now with downtown being pushed as something that should be big and huge in our town. that we have this opportunity right now to help it along to be what we want it to be as a tourist center. But for us to be there long-term, we're going to need help. And I mean, that's, I think, our biggest thing is, you know, we're all independents downtown. What are there, 3 franchises that are not independent? So just help is help. And that's all I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next is Stella Deane. Stella Deane, are you there?
Oh, yes, Mayor, I'm here. Thank you. I would just like to point out, like, I personally do own rental property, and many of our tenants are struggling, as all of us are, and, you know, due to their job loss, many have applied for unemployment insurance. They've either yet not received it, or they're having a lot of problems signing up online. I know I, as a landlord, am working with my tenants. I can assure you most all other landlords are. But these are people who are not currently receiving any rental assistance through the Springfield Housing Authority. These are people who've never, you know, been in this situation, as I'm sure a lot of us have not. But they really don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know what resources are available for them. I would just like to see more rental assistance available and better communication on their part. They're really struggling. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you for that insight. We appreciate it. Next is Garrett Moffitt. Garrett? Hi, Garrett.
You didn't hear? Did you hear me? I was talking to the mayor.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sitting here with my Lincoln top hat here because that's what we have here in Springfield is Abraham Lincoln. Of course, many of you know I operate Springfield Walks, Tours and Guide Services here in Springfield. And my business serves our tourists, our student travel groups, all of our people visiting Springfield to the Lincoln site. And unfortunately, with everything closed, historic sites closed, I've lost 100% of all my business this spring, and which was a very hard hit, of course. And right now I'm really have no income. I've been forced to drive for Uber to keep food on my table, but unfortunately that is very minimal income, and it's very difficult to keep up on my bills. Unfortunately, with the travel industry, the travel and hospitality industry is probably going to be one of the last sectors of the businesses to recover, because of, you know, with travel, you've got people in close quarters. So are people going to be confident to travel? Are there going to be CDC guidelines to travel, you know, on buses, airlines, things like that? And so I think it's a fair bet to say that our summer tourist season here is going to be somewhat lean, despite the wonderful efforts made by our convention bureau here and our historic sites to recover. It's still going to be a very difficult recovery for Springfield, and tourism is the backbone of pretty much all of our downtown economy. And so anything regarding tourism, I think, could use any type of help, but certainly I could. I've fallen through the cracks with the unemployment insurance. The website is defunct. I've not been able to get a response from anybody. I have made an initial application, and I've been turned down, and I've been trying to do the reapply, but I've been unsuccessful at that. I've also tried applying for the PPP loan. Again, I've had difficulty applying with that, and I've not been able to get a response. I'm still seeking avenues for financial assistance, of course, to help get me through. But as somebody earlier said, the websites are crashed, broken down. Offices aren't improperly staffed. Phone calls aren't getting returned. Can't get through to a real person. So I'm really kind of struggling at the moment, I'm sorry to say. But being a sole proprietorship that uses independent contractors, I've fallen through a lot of the cracks with any type of assistance. And my business, of course, is seasonal. My primary tour season is March through the end of October. And I use about 15 different independent contractors as tour guides. But of course, they've all been more or less furloughed until travel returns. Probably the last thing to offer up is that I know with some of the student travel companies that I contract with, they have suspended all travel until spring of 2021. And that is a major part of our student buses that come here for our historic site. So it's not just a hard hit for me, it's going to be a hard hit for Springfield. So anything that we can do to help me with my business, I would certainly be appreciative, but anything that we can do to prop tourism up, because anything that's going to prop tourism up is going to help our downtown community as a whole. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you so much. Abraham Lincoln.
Thank you, Garrett. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Next is Terry Knoll. There she is. Hi, Terry.
Unmute. Hi, I think can you hear and see me?
Yes, yes, thank you.
I was just really on the call today as an observer, but I will introduce myself to everyone. My name is Terry Knoll, and I have a marketing consulting company, and I publish Sweet Spot Living magazine and Chatham Neighbors magazine. So I will just echo for the retailers and the restaurants that spoke earlier and the many that are not on this call, that as I talk with my advertisers, as I work with the businesses, we're all struggling in this regard. And of course, if they can't be open, they can't afford to advertise, and then I don't have a job. So I'm falling through the cracks as well. Like Linda mentioned, I don't have employees. I'm a sole proprietor. I have no idea how to maneuver unemployment, because that will be the first time in my 59 and a half years that I've ever had to do that. So we're on a learning curve there. Secondly, I'll echo the madam who spoke about rentals. My husband owns 50 properties, and our tenants are typically in the service industry. We were about 7,000 shy of making rent in April. We fear May will be worse because they work in restaurants and they work in non-essential businesses. 4 of my units have 6 of the 8 people in the restaurant business. So the assistance for landlords who still have to pay their mortgage and their property taxes and the homeowners and rental insurance, all of that still marches on. So I am excited to help promote how those individuals can get that assistance. And I will be, helping promote that to all of the readers of my magazines so that those individuals, can hopefully filter down through the process. So that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that insight. We appreciate it. Next is Rebecca Luke. Rebecca Luke.
Okay, does this work now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I had more of a clarifying question in regards to the draft that was available on the city's website.
Sure.
Specifically looking at page 4, we're looking at the COVID-19 housing assistance. In the description, it says a maximum of $1,000 will be provided to landlords, property managers on behalf of renters. I just wanted to clarify, is that $1,000 per landlord property manager or is that per renter?
I'll attempt to answer it. The details have to be worked out. I think through the feedback, that would be per renter. I mean, as far as unit.
Okay.
If they need the assistance, the payment goes directly to the landlord. So it has to be a COVID-related impact with regards to that. But the details have to be worked out. But that was the parameters. So if you want to suggest something different, we can make a document of that.
I was just reading the way the sentence was structured. It seemed to me it was reading a maximum of $1,000 per landlord or property manager. And of course, a landlord or property manager could have multiple units with people who are, struggling to meet rent. But I just wanted to clarify that everybody was reading it differently. And then just in general, I wanted to mention that I've noticed a lot of people are really struggling with rent. And of course, your home, your housing is usually the biggest cost that people have in their monthly budgets. So I just feel that it's great that the city has put some money, really put some significant money into this. And I hope that as we move through this and the folks involved in making this plan will adapt as necessary to make sure that meeting the housing needs of folks in low and moderate income housing situations are being met. So that's all I had to say. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca. Next is Kathy Nicholson. Is Kathy Nicholson? Kathy, are you there? We'll come back to her then. Next is Sheila Stock-Smith.
I don't have a comment.
Oh, there you go. Hi, Sheila.
Hi, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just on as an observer. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm just listening and maybe have a comment at the next time. Thank you.
Great. Well, we appreciate you participating. And Sheila is one of the Economic Community Development Council members, so we appreciate your service on that.
Thank you.
So going back through the list, is Monica Zanetti available? Monica? Kathy Napier? And then Kathy Nicholson. Kathy, are you there? So is there anyone else on the call that would like to make additional comments? So Val, you want to give a recap of how people, the process in itself, and then also how people can make comments, if you would, please?
Okay, as the mayor indicated early on, we just want to remind you that there will be other times that you can make comment, or you can always let us know something. So this next Tuesday, May 12th at 5:30 with Committee of the Whole, you can sign up to speak at that time. You can speak next Thursday, the May 14th, from 5 to 6 o'clock. We'll have another Zoom meeting where you can submit or give your comments. And then on May 19th at 5:30 at the City Council meeting, you'll also be able to provide any kind of feedback. You can sign up to speak at any of those times by emailing feedback@springfield.il.us at least an hour before the start of the meeting, or you can call the Office of Planning and Economic Development at 217-789-2377. Your written comments can also be accepted via email to feedback@springfield.il.us. And I just personally want to thank, I've spoken with many of you personally through the last 8 weeks, but I want to thank you for taking the time this evening to express your concerns and provide us the feedback that we need as we move forward to distribute these funds in our community.
Well, thank you, Val. And for those that are watching on Facebook, you can also make comments or questions through that process. And I'd like to thank Alderwoman Turner and then Alderwoman Conley who've tuned in too to listen. I think that's important, as well as Sheila Stock-Smith, as I noted, was the Economic Community Development Council member. And what this points out for those of you that have participated, it's very important that you share your most valuable asset, as we know through this coronavirus, is our asset of time. So it's important that you provide your feedback so we can move forward in a positive direction, supporting those that have come forward and those that have not. But again, if you have not, or you know somebody that would like to make a comment, please do so. If they want to keep it confidential, they can mark it confidential. But we'd like to hear that the feedback, because that's how we can provide the support services to those that need it the most. And that's what this whole process is about. So we appreciate everybody's participation in that. And it's very important because it's just not about right now, but how do we recover? How do we move forward? I think someone mentioned they need help up and through December. So that's what we're taking a look at, not only this year, but the following years, and how much or how we can work together to make that support happen. And again, I will give a shout out to we need everybody's support with regards to supporting the brick and mortar businesses, the small businesses, not only in Springfield, Illinois, but every community is the backbone of all our economies. So it's essential that we support our brick and mortar stores. They provide for our neighbors, as we were told tonight. They provide for our workforce, the workers, and as we move forward with regards to that, that provides our services that we provide. So the service, we're a hospitality industry, as was pointed out as well, and we need to make sure that we can make it through these challenging times and move forward in that direction by supporting one another, especially our local businesses. So we appreciate everybody's participation, and we appreciate everybody's support for one another as we move through this short-term pandemic that will make us stronger for the long term. So thank you very much. And again, if you want to make comments next Tuesday at the City Council Committee as a whole at 5:30, or next public hearing would be next Thursday at 5 o'clock. And in the meantime, you can always go to feedback or send emails to feedback@springfield.il.us. So we wish everybody a good day and stay healthy. Thank you. Guess I should have closed with my remark.